Greetings all on this late night. We are approaching upon the new moon in Scorpio cycle that begins the early morning of Monday. And this is November 13th. And here in the Pacific, it will be around 12:30 or 12:50. And this particular new moon cycle will begin as the shows on 20 degrees Scorpio moon. This will be conjuncting exactly with the sun in 20 degrees Scorpio. And this will be also opposing the Earth as well as Uranus. As you can see through this human design transit chart, it is occurring in in gates 23 and 43 and this is the channel of the genius freak. Now this particular channel is about insights, flashes of insight, and you could see there's other gates activated. Pluto is in 60. The nodes are in gate 42. It's a sacral gate. It's not a stable environment. Gate 42. It's an Aries gate. And you could see the other gates that are activated. One's the mental channel that likes to repeat things over and over again, the 24. Down below, we see the 32, which is the fear of failure. Gate 18, which is the gate of black magic and authority. And gate 55, which is the gate of melancholy and the gate of spirit. And that's a very heavy gate. This is the beginning of this cycle. This is a really important theme, the 2343, because the contrast there is to trust the flashes of insights that come through, but not to live in the mind, not to take up space there, to take up rent and have our consciousness live there. It needs to live in our whole bodily awareness, our whole auric field, our bioenergetic field, and envelope every part of our beingness. And it's always moving about in and out of our own field. I'm going to go now to the write-up that I did. The end of the video, I'll be sharing where the cycle is moving towards, which will be April 23rd's full moon in Scorpio. That'll be the completion from new moon to full moon in Scorpio. And that'll be a full moon about 4 degrees in Scorpio. Now, my thematic for this video is clouds of unknowing above and clouds of unknowing within. Unknowing what we never knew. Is there a difference between within and without? Is there a difference between space and time? Now, I want to start letting people know the method that I'm doing because it's a lot of questions I've been asked here and there. I do use a method of shock. I like to use poetic tautologies for impact. I'm not always speaking literally, so as that the listener can manage their own kind of life causality maze. I'm more instituting shifts of thinking, of perception for you to be impacted by and for that to affect you in the positive way it hopefully does. Now, the thematic tensions of this particular cycle is nothing we're not already aware of. There are wars occurring, wars within and wars without. The mind begins this cycle. The 2343 is a mind that receives flashes of insight, but it's also a mind that can be deafened by all the noises within and kind of lose itself in a disassociative state of awareness. And so I wrote unknowing mind within, maze without. There's enough chaos within us, but the narration outside of us, the performances add an additional maze to get through, a simulated maze. The other contrast is the one I think we're all aware of. The themes of the human versus the synthetic continue, especially as we get closer, and as we will throughout this cycle, we will be witnessing the full impact of Pluto into Aquarius. And that there's a high frequency expression and a low frequency expression of that we will be observing or continuing to observe. This stage, the setting for the stage is about beingness in November, being in the body, new patterns to be present. April will be coming to terms with and knowing how to respond and adapt to shock. The nodes, the environment that's being created by the nodes, as we see in human design, are destabilizing both now and both during the culmination of the cycle. Our own groundedness will be of our own making. I have a reminder, a disclosure here on how transits work in human design. So in human design, we follow our personal bodily or non-body authority. So the foundation human design blueprint chart and the transits that weather, that color our lives day in and day out are just that, our weather that's passing through. We remain our blueprint selves, following our own personal authorities, whether it's self, mind, intuition, heart, sacral, or emotional wave. Our authority guides our vehicle forth. What I describe this day is just the weather of this construct and its ever-changing panorama of sights. Be in the frame designing your way through. The door you plan to leave this room may not be the door in sight. This is about living in your body. An anecdote. There's a story that the author of the Matrix books used to repeat a lot. And this story was about, or this kind of anecdote was, that if you're planning to turn right at the upcoming intersection, and as you come upon the intersection, if you feel, or if you get the hit to turn left instead, you turn left. And this is a reminder for this beginning thematic of this cycle that we can use our minds and we could weigh in and live in our minds and attempt to plan everything out. But these flashing insights are for the moment, as things change all the time, as movements occur all the time, as this kind of construct we live in, this kind of simulated construct, is always changing and shifting by the impact of our own inner suns and inner movements of planetary bodies. One of the tension themes I spoke of was the wars within, the wars without. We just went through October, which was a month of eclipses. As we arrive in April at the end of the cycle, 2 more eclipses will present themselves. April will be a very culminating month on many levels. We are beginning preparation for that end, that exit through this tunnel. Now, I want to note here that about every 4 years, a major cyclical event occurs, like a marker, in these kind of eschatological times. 2024 marks the next initiating period. The end of this Scorpio moon cycle coincides with the April eclipses. There may be huge shifting events occurring in April. There's too much happening for something not to be presented on the world stage. We are all fighting on a personal front in a war within and without ourselves. I wanted to note here that with the war recently breaking out in the Middle East, The energies that rule that area are Aries and Scorpio. These are highly combative energies, and will be the reason why there is perpetual conflict and will ever be in that area of the world. Unknowing mind within, maze without. So as I already noted, the major thematic of this new moon in Scorpio is channel 4323. Us humans desperately love our lives. We constantly use language to construct grand clouds of unknowing, grand edifices to shadow over these large abysses of our mysterious empty spaces and gaps where our fears dwell. Sudden lightning flashes of insight reveal for moments what dwells in these gaps. We are ultimately unknowing beings, unknown to ourselves, unknown to each other. We are ourselves, and we are the world moving within us and through us. The open centers are the gaps that color us in temporarily as states, confusing and conflating our sense of understanding. The only choice is just to accept that we really do not know what we did yesterday, nor know what we are going to do today, and not yet understand how we will do what we will do tomorrow. We only know that our individuated highest expression will strike forth when needed, and it's not about knowingness. I'm talking about beingness, being in the body and fully feeling what it is that's occurring. Too often we don't make space with that. We feel like we need to use language to coat over what we're not yet ready to fully feel. So we substitute that moment with words and later go back, revisit in reflection, and then feel out. That's kind of just the way of Western air-dominated culture. But I'm not saying this is for all the world, but speaking from the Western world, this is what it is. Another thematic, pineal glands within, AI pin eel without, Pluto and Aquarius thematics. We know that with computerization, we've created a replica of ourselves, something that mirrors the aggregate parts of the human body. And in a sense, we as humans, we create, or we imbue whatever we create with our own essence. I mean, are we giving our essence? Are we giving our neurons to operate these electrical shadows that we're creating, whatever they are? We'll see how much we can retain our humanity as we go through this. The beingness of November and the shock of April. More than any other time in our lives, we must be authentic in our beingness. And instead of propping up these illusions of grandiose mental projections of imagined knowingness, it's important we relate forth with the direct truths as they are born in us each day. From now until April, we are on a trajectory. Be very careful what you agree to. With Pluto going into Aquarius, everyday new visions are being solidified. With Saturn moving into Pisces, our imagination is very fertile, and Saturn will provide the structures in order to create these new and solidify these new visions. Do we want nightmare versions of like dark side expression of Aquarius and surveillance states and surveillance money, digital? Yeah, it's very important we do not agree to what we do not want. A lot of these new AI technologies will not be lasting. A lot of these new attempts to, especially like a new monetary system, a new digital money, it won't survive. We won't accept that. Now the show, as it will seem, the 2023 new Scorpio 2343 channel this is a reset of the mind, as I've been noting. We might embrace our mental flashes of insight and run out our minds only to research, communication, and clarification. The mind should not be lived in. We will live our bodily physicality henceforth. We do not live in our minds. Now, the 2024 full moon 2551 channel is about a culminating shock from the outer world to the inner. Something is going to be played on the stage. This is a bridge to the underworld and back. Where this occurs in your chart is where you will go the way of agreeing to possibly control digital systems and alliances with new synthetic technologies, or you'll become your visionary collective circuitry of individuated beingness, connecting with others for that within you, which is still human. It is important we know our yeses and nos as we go forth these next 6 months. Somewhere within these 6 months is the riddle that will spell out consequences for where we decide to make our alliances. Now, the current play on the world stage, we got the North Node in gate 42. This is an Aries gate. This is demands to grow. You can grow upward or you can grow downward. This is a Libra South Node gate. This is 32, and enduring changes abound. No one is waiting for you to come to terms with your indecision. Our actions will rule the day in these next 6 months. The nodes will be in gate 51 and gate 57, again, Aries and Libra, by the time we've culminated with this cycle. 51 is the ability to respond to disorder and shock. It represents this grand transition from world to world and back. The South Node is in a gate of fear, fear of the future. So adapting to the fear of tomorrow by stabilizing our environments. Both the nodes now and the nodes as we enter them upon the end of the cycle are destabilized environments. There's only one environment, and that's the environment within you. Feel free to like or subscribe and write comments. Thanks all for watching, and I look forward to moving forward in these very interesting and challenging times in this next 6 month cycle.